All right, Glenn, we're diving into a conversation today about changing culture. We've worked at Rock Harbor for a couple of years together, seen you do this at Rock Harbor. So just to start us off, what's your philosophy on changing culture?
I mean, I think, when I arrived here, I think we were all, you were already, this was already in progress. You don't change an organization's culture head on by saying, we're not going to do this. What you end up doing is it's almost like a garden box. You stop watering one plant and you start watering another. I mean, culture comes from that word cultivation, or it's related to the word cultivation. So in one sense, you don't change culture by saying, hey, we're not going to do that. You just start to let it kind of fade and you start to pay more attention to the thing that you want to create.
Totally. Okay. So back us up a little bit. What is culture? So give us a concrete example. What are we talking about here?
I think it's such an important question because we go, oh, culture, the organization culture's off, the staff culture's off. Like, what do we mean? I think here, the tools of an anthropologist can be really helpful. So if we were studying a people group or going to another, country or culture, at the very least, you're going to look at language, you're going to listen to the stories, you're going to pay attention to their rituals, and you're going to analyze their artifacts. So language, stories, rituals, and artifacts.
All right. So hit us up. What is language?
Language can be small. Yeah, it could be the smallest thing, like, for example, if you call it childcare and not kids ministry, right? Then we're like, oh yeah, we're just dropping our kids off somewhere instead of, no, this is a ministry where we're trying to partner with you in discipling your kids. So language is huge that way. But it can also be huge in terms of your values. So for us, we needed words to name some of our values in this season. Right. And so we use those three words: encounter, formation, mission. They're not rocket science. They're not original words to us, but they've become special words to us, culture shaping kind of words.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So now where do stories play a part in this?
Stories, we're storytelling creatures. We're always telling stories. I've loved a lot of the stories you tell. I think in a church, there's like a founding myth story. Like, how did this church begin? Like, what was our intention? I think there's stories when new staff members arrive, new leaders arrive. I think there's also stories that can celebrate the values you want to reinforce. So when you go, oh, someone took a risk and it didn't work, but man, they took a risk.
Right.
You tell that story because it reinforces the value of risk taking. And speaking of things not working, I think leaders should tell stories where we're not the hero.
Yes.
Because you're reinforcing the value of humility and honesty. So stories can shape the culture. Let's look at it on the flip side. If a church only ever told stories where the leader is always the hero, always is brave, you go, man, that is all about that one individual. But if we tell stories of team wins, of people who are hidden, doing faithful work that is not on stages, we're creating a culture that values that.
Totally. Okay, and talk to me about rituals. Where does that come in?
Okay, in church world, like rituals, we don't do rituals.
Yeah.
But we do practices. That's all. A ritual is just something a community does together and repeatedly. All right. So a few years ago, we're like, we want to up the prayer culture at Rock Harbor. Great. So we got to create some new rituals of prayer gatherings. So there's a women's prayer gathering, a men's prayer gathering, a monthly church one. It's hard to create culture if it's not also connected with a practice or a ritual.
Sure. Okay. And then the last one would be artifacts. How are we doing artifacts at Rock Harbor?
So this is all the stuff that you greenlight, all the projects that you're like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, anytime there's, like, for example, a new worship song that we release on Spotify, or we create a new small group guide, honestly, any card that we print or hand out at the door, any annual report, those are all cultural artifacts. They speak and tell people what you're about. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's not just about cool design and nice, catchy words or whatever. You're actually enshrining your culture in a physical product. And if that product's for a season, great. If that product is for years, it even better. But the idea is culture gets encoded into those products.
Items. Yeah. I love those kind of 4 lanes and how you can use them to change the culture that within an organization. So it's really helpful. Thanks.